Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, comparing the Subaru Crosstrek to the Honda HR-V to see which small crossover is the best. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Ken Garff Honda here in Salt Lake and the Nate Wade Subaru also here in Salt Lake for giving me some time with both of the cars. I'll include a link to both their websites in the description down below. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Powering the Crosstrek is a 2.5 liter flat 4 cylinder that is paired to a CVT automatic. Fuel economy is 26 around town and then 33 on the highway with power outputs being 182 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. Powering the HR-V is a 2 liter 4 cylinder that also goes through a CVT. Fuel economy is 25 around town and then 30 on the highway with power outputs being 158 horsepower and then 138 pound-feet of torque. Before we move forward with this comparison, I do want to mention if you're going to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So both of these are actually sports, but they got different themes when it comes to sports. So you can see with the Crosstrek here, just like other modern Subarus, it has a lot of cladding on the bottom to kind of give it that rugged off-roader appearance. But you can also see the gold trim that comes with the sport package. Whereas with the Honda, everything's just kind of like darker with the elements, and the headlight design on the new Honda, fascinating with how that looks, right? Now this is interesting. Tire and wheel setup on both of them is identical. 225 by 55 by 18 on the front and in the rears. And they both have blacked out wheels as well. So like here's the Subaru, for example. And then you guys can see with the Honda over here. And then look at the fender flares on both of them. And you got the sport badge there with the Crosstrek, and you can see both of them have blacked out mirror caps, so there's lots of thematic similarities with them. And then yeah, it's interesting to see with the Honda how it's just like straight back, and then the Subaru kind of has that fender that pops out. Here's a side view with the Crosstrek. Here's a side view with the HR-V. Now this segment of itty bitty crossover is interesting because it's actually pretty dang practical in the back. You wouldn't think so looking on the outside, but that's a decent amount of cargo space. These are kind of like lifted hatchbacks. It's one way that you could look at it. So with the HR-V, it is manual for the closing operation. You can see how the rear end kind of like rounded off. Really cool taillight design, I think. And then with the Subaru, again, basically lifted hatchback. So you've got pretty solid storage space here. They look pretty similar in size, by the way. And then same thing, it's manual, so it's got to plop that weak. Actually plop it down. And then you guys can see with the taillight design and then more of that gold trim throughout. Yeah, the Subaru is definitely more shouty with the styling. The Honda's a little bit more understated. Now in the back of the Honda, legroom's pretty solid. Got a little storage area there. These nice seats with this cool stitching and everything. Look at that. All down the center. And look at the door panel with the trim as well. And then headroom back here is pretty dang solid. And then in the back of the Crosstrek, pretty similar in terms of the space. Might be a little bit tighter, but not too big of a difference. Got some USB ports, and like I said, stylized is the theme here. Look at this. Pretty crazy with that. And then you can see the soft touch trim and everything on the door panel, which is nice. And then headroom, it slopes a little bit more in the Crosstrek, so it's got a little bit less headroom. And let's start her up. Pretty cool, the little Honda animation there. Notice this whole thing's screen basically, so there's lots you can see there, including like the drive modes. For example, will pop up there. With the door panel, it's got soft touch at the top, and then this is not soft touch, but then this section down here where the cool stitching is, and you got all of your window controls and all that. Blind spot running with the mirrors. Fancy steering wheel with some nice stitching there. It's like the orange stitching you've seen throughout the interior with this. So the practical controls, including like adaptive cruise control and steering assist, and then backup camera as well. And then we've got Honda's like mega vent system. And by the way, the infotainment system, tons of physical controls. It's kind of like a smaller screen with this version. And then we do have our climate controls just down below, heated seats as well. Kind of like our charging area down here with the cup holders. Shifter there, their drive mode select, and it's got like hill descent control and all of that, parking brake. And you can see a little charging area. And then look at these seats in the front. So again, pretty interesting with the trim here. And then no sunroof or anything like that. Crosstrek. So a lot more analog with the gauge cluster, interesting. And you still have like the drive mode stuff will show up in the gauge cluster, interestingly enough. And then the door panel is different. So you got like lots of cloth trim there at the top and then some soft touch down below. Still window controls, blind spot monitoring and all of that with this. Bunch of practical controls on the steering wheel, including adaptive cruise control and steering assist and all that. Got that gold stitching. Blinged out Subaru, right? Good backup camera. Much bigger infotainment system. I mean, look at this monstrosity. Got your climate controls there, dual zone climate with this actually, which is a pretty cool feature to have. But yeah, I'd say that this is a little bit more integrated into the dash, but this isn't like all the new Subarus now. And then you can see this little charging area down below. Shifter. Heated seats are these physical buttons right here. And then we've got more storage here. And yeah, this material is interesting. And then seats in the Subaru, again, very flashy. Sorry, my stuff's all on it. Yeah, very interesting and flashy with the trim. And just like the Honda, no sunroof or anything like that. Now when it comes to pricing, that Honda stickers for about $30,500. The Subaru stickers for about $31,400. A little bit of a price difference. Let's see which one drives the best. Well, let's talk about visibility here in the Honda before we set off. There's over the hood. Both the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring. And the rest of the rear. Also, 106 degrees outside. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Those are rookie numbers. Let's pump up those numbers. Let's get to 150. I'm just kidding. It's already pretty toasty. But I've been doing this for long enough that it's so long as I drink water, doesn't really bother me anymore. Up to about like, I'd say like 110. Once I get above 110, then I start to go, man, is it hot in here? So far, setting off the Honda, seats are pretty comfortable. Nice bolstering. Suspensions, good as well. Yeah, pretty compliant over all the bumps and everything. Steering's very direct. I think the Honda did a really good job with this HRV because, you know, Subaru with the Crosstrek and the Impreza, right? They're pretty much the same vehicle. The Crosstrek's just kind of like lifted. This, you could, you know, make some comparisons to the Civic, but it's also different in its own unique way as well, which I really like. It, you know, it looks completely different from a Civic. Whereas a Crosstrek and an Impreza, there's lots of similarities with those two. Pretty good power. Pretty good power too. For the segment, again, it's not a fast car by any means. Nothing in this segment's fast. It's more so about good fuel economy and drivability. But yeah, impressive. I like how this drives. It's nice. So the HRV, I mean, it's a, what is a subcompact crossover? I don't even care about the category names. Itty bitty SUV is what we'll call this. Itty bitty SUV. It drives well for an itty bitty SUV. So let me know what you guys think about the HRV, the Honda Gini. It's always gonna have that name from me. Honda Gini. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. So visibility of the hood, both the mirrors. Let's get the rest of the rear. And, well, let's see how this compares to the Honda Gini. It does have more horsepower, so it should feel quicker, right? It's the theory, at least. What I'll say right off the bat, two completely different themes. You know, Subaru's going for that like rugged off-roader stuff, whereas Honda's going more for the luxury side of things. Now, flat four cylinders always feel a little bit different than inline four cylinders. I mean, right off the bat, I wouldn't say that it feels more powerful, but we'll see when we get like a real acceleration. feel like this suspension handles the bigger bumps better than the Honda. But they're both good. Seats in the Honda are a little bit more comfortable. This interior is cool. The Honda is definitely more like, again, luxury themed. Yeah, no, well, yeah, the compression's good. Yeah, you can feel it's got a little bit more pep in its step. It's not as big of a difference as you might think, but it's perceivable. So to sum things up, again, I mean, I did a comparison CR-V versus Forester, and at the end of that I said I think it's going to come down to style, and I think the same exact thing with this comparison. I think that people are going to choose one or the other based on what style they like best. Do they like the HR-V style more, or do they like the Subaru style more? Because they're so similar. There's obviously key differences, but they're so similar in terms of pricing and features and everything else. So let me know if you'd go Honda Genie or if you'd go Subaru. We'll call this the Jeep Subaru, right? Because Subaru's doing the wilderness. This isn't a wilderness, but they're wildernessing the world, like that one right there. Let me know your thoughts.